Hello, my name is Amit Atrey. I'm an orthopaedic surgeon and an associate professor at the University of Toronto. This short video is an explanation of how your support could help me set up a professorship and therefore advance the care of orthopaedic hip and knee replacement recovery. So hip and knee replacement recovery is really important. As you know, many people suffer with arthritis, and there are 1.1 million hips and knees done across North America alone, and around 3.5 million globally. When people have arthritis of the hip and knee, it's very debilitating. It stops you from working, it stops you from ambulating and walking around as normal. It can even stop you sleeping. And what we do in terms of hip and knee recovery is fantastic. Hip replacements are often called the operation of the century because people do so well. But accelerating that care and making sure we give the same quality care to everyone is paramount. And that's what my focus of research has been on for the last 20 years. You'll see from my 90 papers, I really take research importantly. But I've been very frustrated of two things. One is access to care is limited. Not everyone gets the same great care. There's a two-tier system for those people who can afford extra physiotherapy and those who cannot, and also the access to get to physiotherapists. Doing orthopedic research and any form of research requires huge numbers of data. If you work in science or if you work in finance or in business, you know that to see big trends, you need to have lots of numbers. You need to have a lot of data points. You can't see trends in terms of financial movements unless you have hundreds of thousands of data points. Now, when we do an orthopedic trial, we're lucky if we can get 200 patients enrolled. That's a big size study, and you really cannot gauge too much from that. So we need to do something called citizen science. That's where we give patients something, and in return, they willingly give their data. And this is where I think I've stumbled upon something great. Something that allows me to give access to care for patients recovering after hip and knee replacements, and in return, they give me their data. And I'm going to go off on a tangent, so bear with me. When I work out in the gym, I use the Peloton app. Now, it's a fantastic app, but it allows me to follow a new gym instructor every day with a new class every day going online. That means an instructor tells me what to lift, when to lift, and how to lift it, and how long to lift it for. It's like having a personal trainer every day. And a personal trainer in my gym is $150, so over a month, that's nearly $5,000. I can't afford that. But the Peloton app for $15 a month allows me to have that. And it made me realize there's a great disparity in the amount of access to care for physiotherapists after hip and knee replacements. So I recreated something similar to the Peloton app called joint recovery. I filmed 9 of my patients, hips and knees, recovering every day for 30 days after hip replacements that I'd performed and knee replacements that I'd performed. And we're providing this joint recovery program, and in return, they get 30 days of day after day physiotherapy where they follow along home to real patients and real physiotherapists guiding them. Now, this affords access to care that most of our disenfranchised people would not have access to. OHIP only provides so much, around 1 or 2 sessions after a knee replacement, and no recovery at all after hip replacements. And in the US, Medicare and Medicaid is very varied on what it will provide. Patients will get 30 days or $5,000 worth equivalent of physiotherapy. The beauty of this is that patients will give their data, their demographics, their age, their gender, their physical activity, their socioeconomics, and then using AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning, will monitor their range of motion on a daily basis. Now, collating those tens of thousands of data points, how much they bend, how much they straighten, how much they rotate internally and externally, is huge. This has never been done before. So it's called citizen science. All these patients willingly giving me their data in exchange for a product, helping them recover. So we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We're giving access to care where it might not have been given before, and in return, we're learning from them. Now, with this data, we can extrapolate huge amounts of information. We can perhaps work out which people need more care. If we found out that white men between 50 and 70 do worse than black men between 50 and 70, who do worse than women between 50 and 70, we know where to target, or vice versa. If we find out certain gender groups at certain ages do worse, then we'll target them as well. If we find out that certain people need to have their knees very slightly looser because they get tight constriction, we could do that. This has never been done before, but it's possible because of artificial intelligence and machine learning, something that we've never been able to do before. Artificial intelligence will capture that range of motion, the bending, the straightening, the internal, the external rotation, using people's laptops, their tablets, their smartphones. And then collating that data is integral. Your donations will help pay for coders, engineers, and then statisticians to work through that data. Hundreds of thousands of data points, which could have taken a statistician years to do, could potentially, once coded and engineered for, be churned out in a matter of minutes. The more patients we recruit through the citizen science who watch joint recovery and participate in it, the better the data. But this, as you can imagine, takes money to set up. The money you give will go via the university and will of course be endorsed with a tax receipt, but will stay purely in research, and you'll be able to access and see where it's going and towards what publications and what steps and what great strides we make to improve surgery and recovery after surgery. Your help is really greatly appreciated, and together, hopefully, we'll take a new step in a new form of learning and a new form of access to healthcare that perhaps didn't exist before. Thank you so much for your support.